Hello and welcome back to Crafted by Corie. If you're new, I'm Corie. Welcome to my channel. If you're returning, thank you as always for being here. You mean the world to me. I have some brand new fall DIYs today, so let's go ahead and get right on into the crafting. DIY number one. All right, I have these ball jars from my stash. I've had them for a while. I had gotten a case of them at Walmart maybe a year or two ago. I'm not sure. But I'm going to take my salmon coral chalk paint by Home Decor and I'm going to paint just one of them. And this is the same color that I used on the mushroom that you guys seemed to really like last week. But I'm going to paint the inside of the glass this time. And that's so that I can kind of keep going with everything. But also, I decided I wanted a uniform look on the outside of the ball jars. You can certainly paint the exterior if you want that matte look on the one jar. You can certainly do this however you'd like. And everything that I do is really honestly for inspiration. So feel free to be creative and make it your own and use different colors or do it with different techniques, whatever makes your heart happy. So now I have my jute cord and I'm going to go ahead and tie some of this. I'm going to leave the one that I painted alone for a minute because I don't want to impact the paint dripping on the inside of it or whatever it might do if I start rolling it around. So I'm going to start with these first two. Now, I always end up having to flip my things upside down to tie my bows. I don't know what it is with the way that I tie bows, but they never seem to work out when I try to do them right side up. So I always end up tying them upside down. And I am putting knots in the end of the jute cord, and that does a few things. First of all, I like the way it looks, so it makes my heart happy. It does give the tails a little bit of weight so that it helps them not to stick out quite as much. And then it also does alleviate any worries around the jute cord fraying. So that is why I do the knots. You do not have to do the knots if you don't like the knots and you prefer to leave it plain. And then I was like pulling stuff off the jute cord. It reminds me of like tree bark. I don't know what jute is made out of. I think it's a natural fiber. So it wouldn't surprise me if it's got something to do with growing on trees or I don't know. If you know what it is, I'm going to have to look it up later. But drop me a comment. Let me know what jute is. But once this one was a little bit more settled, I went ahead and flipped it around and tied my bow upside down so that it'll look right side up when I'm done. And that'll be that for the jar prep, so to speak. So once I have these all tied and to my liking, I am going to grab some little lights from the Dollar Tree. These are pumpkins. And then I also have some little fall leaf ones that I had used in a different project. And so I'm repurposing them. I was hoping that I had two sets of the leaves. That was my initial intent. And then I found that I only had one. And then I had one of these pumpkin sets. And actually, even before this intent, I had intended to use little fairy lights, but I only had one of those too. So I'm going to use these two different kinds. You are going to see a difference. I'm just popping some AA batteries into here. These are from the Dollar Tree, as is this little set of mini screwdrivers. They are fantastic and perfect for these teeny tiny little screws. But you can see how these lights are much brighter than the little ones on the left that are the leaves. But I'm popping these inside the jars with the little on-off switch pointing up, and that should help with me being able to turn these on and off as needed. And you're going to see why I'm saying that in just a moment. So once I had that all set, I went into my stash. Actually, I didn't go into my stash yet. I'm going to help this little guy dry. This might be a good time for me to give my sister Kim a big shout out. She has been working really hard behind the scenes to set up a Stan store for me. And I'll tell you about that in just a second. But these are some florals that I pulled out of my stash. I had not remembered using them for other projects, but I clearly did because they were already cut down. If you have followed me for a while, you know I'm always pulling my picks apart. I'm always cutting them down for my various projects. So apparently I used these for something and then I was done. And so I stuck them back in my little flower holder. When I went to look for some fall greenery and florals, there they were. And they were almost exactly the height that I needed. You are going to see me kind of cutting them down here and just piecing them in pretty much one at a time for the jars that have the lights in them, because I needed to be able to get around the lights, and trying to stick a whole bouquet in there just wasn't working. But as I was saying before, a huge shout out to Kim, who has been setting up a Stan store for me. If you have never heard of a Stan store, do not fear, because I had never heard of it either until Kim told me about it. But it's essentially a place where I can share, or Kim can share, all of my digital designs that I've created on my channel for various projects. And so if I have saved those designs, they are going to be in the Stan store. They're only going to be $1 or $2. Some are a little bit more if they were more involved, but for the most part, they're just a couple of bucks. And you can check that out. And instead of having to go and figuring out how to design it or redesign it yourself, you are welcome to make that purchase of my digital download. There is a free guide out there on the Stan store that you can also download that tells you how to use them, because they are going to pop up in Canva for you, which is free. Canva is free unless you opt to get the upgrade for it. But all of the designs that are out there for purchase are going to be adjustable in Canva as well. So you can adjust the size, you can mirror them, unmirror them. And that little free guide will tell you exactly how to do that. If you want something that's more in-depth learning for Canva, there is also a guide for purchase that is much more in-depth, but there's no need to purchase that if you're just looking for the basics on how to use the digital downloads that I have out there. There is a link in my description box. I hope you'll check it out. Let me know what you think. And thank you so much for your support. I appreciate you all more than I can say, but let me know what you think of this. DIY number 2. All right, this is from the Dollar Tree. It is obviously a little sign with a cutout pumpkin. And then I have this 6x6 little balsa wood piece that I'd gotten in a pack from Amazon. I'm going to trim it down because, as I showed you, it's a little bit too wide for the Dollar Tree sign. And I'm going to be adhering it to the back of the sign. I did this, a very similar thing with a star cutout, same type of sign from the Dollar Tree, but it had a star cutout a few weeks ago for a patriotic DIY. So basically the same concept. This time I'm just going to sand off that little edge because it was a little rough, very, very light sand. This time I'm going to be using my pumpkin chalk paint by Waverly. Here it is. And I'm going to paint just the entire center section of the balsa wood. I'm going to leave, you're going to see I want to say a barrier. That is not the word I'm looking for. Border. I'm going to leave a border so that when I use my hot glue, and again, you might want to use E6000 or wood glue, even better if you want it to be a nice permanent hold. For the sake of time, I'm just going to be using my hot glue. But I am leaving that border so that the glue can interact directly with the wood without messing with the paint, because there is always a chance that the paint will not create as strong a bond, that the paint might just peel away, lift off of whatever surface you're working with. So I always like to try, where possible, to go direct to the initial or original surface of the things that I am bonding. I hope that makes sense. So I'm going to go ahead and add some hot glue all the way around the perimeter. Of course, I'm going to lift my gun and drag it across the project there. So I had a string of hot glue I'm going to have to contend with here. So I know you can't see it on camera probably, but yeah, that was what I was doing. Going to go ahead and press that down. I can flip it over now, and that is set. I did then notice that I'd forgotten to sand the little cutout of the pumpkin. There was a little rough edge there that was bothering me, so I just used the corner of my sanding block to get that kind of tidied up a little bit. So now I'm grabbing some Arteza paint markers. You can certainly use a vinyl cutter or a stencil and do other things with this. I had opted to do hand lettering. This is espresso, so like a dark chocolate brown that espresso color. And then I have tangerine there is the other color. These are Arteza chalk paint markers. And I did not have any kind of an issue with the hello. But I did... And maybe my espresso paint marker was a little bit drier. Maybe I hadn't loaded the tip as much as I did with the tangerine and the green that I'm going to use in a little bit. So I didn't have any issues with the hello. But then I did, on the next word I'm going to work on, have some issues with bleeding. So if you do plan to use this kind of a sign from the Dollar Tree, and you want to keep that natural wood look to it, which is what I was going for, I would just Mod Podge it first. Just save yourself a headache and do a good coat of Mod Podge on it. It can be the matte Mod Podge so that it still has that matte wood finish to it. But I think that you are going to be glad that you did if you take the time to make that one extra step. So I just went through and made like a faux calligraphy there, and now I'm going to come in. I'm doing my air drawing the way I always do, trying to figure out where to place my letters. It was still a little bit of a fail on my part here because I should have put in some lead, do you call them leader lines? Lead lines? Because I did okay from top to bottom, but my left to right wasn't so hot. And it's going to be a little bit hard to tell on here until I turn it face on, but my letters are not centered. They're just not centered. And I did realize about halfway through writing the initial letters, and I had already decided I was going to try to do some kind of a fun chunky font with this. So I did try to compensate for it by making the right side of the letters a little heavier, which you'll see in a minute. I don't think it compensated quite enough. So I may well at some point paint over the bottom portion of this, just kind of block it out maybe with an ivory color or something and redo the letters. That's going to do two things. First of all, it's going to get rid of the bleed issue that you're going to see I have after I put down the orange and the green. And then it'll allow me an opportunity to center my letters. So I am just going to continue to make the font the way that I was hoping would look super cute and plump with the pumpkin. I'll work my way down. I'm not going to show the whole thing. I'll use the magic of time lapse here in a second and move right along. But essentially you can do any kind of a font in this manner. And it's funny because y'all, I have bad handwriting, and whenever I do hand lettering, I always get compliments on my handwriting, but my handwriting is honestly not good. So if I can do hand lettering, you could do hand lettering. This is honestly drawing the letters, right? I am not writing the letters, I'm drawing them. So I'm thinking of the letters as pictures that I'm drawing. And you can do that too, I promise you. So once I had this pretty much the way that I had hoped to have it, I noticed that there was quite a bit of bleeding, especially at the ends of the letters. So I was trying to figure that out. In the meantime, I pulled out, this is an olive green chalk paint marker by Arteza from the same set that I was using with the other colors. And just had created some little squiggles, but then I felt like once I had those squiggles on there, they were kind of disconnected from the pumpkin, and the stem was already bothering me because I'm like, well, the stem shouldn't be orange. The stem should be like green or brown or something. And so then I decided to outline the stem, and I'm ultimately going to go back and outline that whole pumpkin in the green just because I felt like it needed something. And now I'm still trying to figure out these letters, and I was debating, do I put some sort of decoration along the side of it to try and help compensate for the fact that I don't have the letters centered? Do I outline the letters to give them more weight and maybe hopefully deal with that bleeding problem at the same time? Do I do that and then end up with a bigger bleeding problem? I did opt, as you can see, to outline the letters, and I did end up with a bigger bleeding issue. Now, from a distance, you can't really tell, but when you get up and look at it, you can tell that it's bled. So again, opportunity to learn from my mishap. And if you opt to use paint markers on this, or even if you're going to stencil, because I did stencil on this with that other sign that I mentioned before, and I Mod Podged the stencil before I put down my paint, and I had no bleeds. The lines were super crisp and clean. I have a feeling that any paint you try to use on this, if you don't Mod Podge it first, you're going to get bleeds. I think that's just going to ultimately... I got lucky with the espresso for whatever reason, and the espresso didn't bleed, but everything else here was having that desire to kind of feather out on me. So here I am just outlining that pumpkin, and that's going to be it for this one. I'm going to show it to you here in a second. Let me know what you think. Maybe I'm too hard on myself. Maybe not. And now it's time for a shout out timeout. Really nice rose, beautiful. I love these so much. And very nice, Valerie. You have been busy. Look at all those earrings that she made with resin. Amazing. I would love to give you a shout out as well. If you have interest, just send me an email at craftedbycorie@gmail.com. DIY number 3. Okay, I have this little, I think it's a vase or a votive holder, I'm not sure, a cone styrofoam piece, scrap fabric from 2 different things, and a Dollar Tree gingerbread man sock. Can you guess what I'm gonna make? So I'm gonna take that sock, and I'm gonna cover up the little glass. I don't know if that's a candle holder or a little vase. I'm honestly not sure, but it's from the Dollar Tree. I'm gonna cover that up. You're not gonna see those little buttons, but if you were to see them by lifting this little guy's beard later, it'd be super cute, right? So little hidden detail that I know about, at least. This little thing that I am cutting apart was a glove from a wolf costume I had made for Rich for a Halloween party one year, like a long time ago. And he's never going to ever wear it again. So I went ahead and had stuck it in my stash, and I'm like, ooh, this is an opportunity to maybe use this because I needed some faux fur. So I'm going to cut this down to be a beard shape. I am sure you have already guessed what I'm making here, but gonna try and just get that trimmed down until it's the shape that I want it. It did take me a little bit of doing because, again, I don't tend to measure things most times. I tend to eyeball things. So I do recommend, and I don't know what has happened to my good pair of scissors for, this is a great pair of scissors for craft projects, like heavy duty utility scissor kind of things. But fabric, you really do have a better time if you have actual fabric scissors. I used to have fabric scissors, but then I also had kids who like to take all my stuff. And even though they've grown out of that now, I still can't find stuff. So I don't know where my fabric scissors might have gone. But that's why I'm trying to struggle a little bit with these other scissors that just don't want to cut the faux fur. They cut everything, but they just struggle with fabric. So once I had that to about where I wanted it, I'm going to go ahead and secure it here. I think this is where I'm securing it. I'm just going to check it out and show you what I'm looking at. That's the other thing I struggle with, you guys, is the camera angles, trying to make sure that I'm setting it up in a way that you can see best. And I know some people like the top view like this. Some people prefer the side view. So it's tough. All right, so once I had my little faux fur beard applied, I'm just now trying to figure out, I want to cover up this cone, and I'm trying to think about what I want his little hat to look like. And I did decide I wanted to kind of flop over, so I need it to be longer than the cone is tall. Ultimately, I just cut this down the middle. Clearly, you can see it's a remnant. I had used it for something else. I don't even remember what I used it for. But this was a piece from the Dollar Tree. I think it was like a 2 foot by 2 foot square, if I'm not mistaken. And so I'm going to just go ahead and get it secure at the bottom. And then I will work my way up. So I'm starting at the wide end, just making sure that it's secure and that I've got enough fabric hanging over the edge to do what I have in mind for it. And then like I said, I'll work my way up. So this is going to be kind of like when you wrap a package that's really awkward at Christmas or whatever other holiday, birthday you're wrapping for. And you end up taking some tape and tacking it down directly to the object that you're trying to wrap. That's what I'm going to do here. So I'm going to just add a little bit of hot glue, tack that down, because it's going to help me get this a little bit more snug. It's going to give me some leverage, I guess is a good way to put it. So now I can pull up against that and get this a little tighter. And I'm going to be tucking some of that in underneath. And then I'll eventually secure it once I get it to where I want it. And this is just going to be the back seam going up behind our little guy. So I'm going to go ahead and tuck some hot glue in there, get that pressed down. A little bit more hot glue at the top in just a moment. Once I have it situated. And now I'm thinking about it, I probably could have made this a little kind of bunchy as it went up. It might have given the hat some additional character. I did it really straight on, but it could totally be kind of bunchy and fun. I might have to do that in the future and give that a shot. So now I'm pulling it down over, so that extra fabric I had, I'm pulling it down over the vase, votive holder, whatever, over his body. I'm pulling it down. And then I was like, do I want it that way? Do I want to try and bunch it up like on top of his head? No, I decided I was going to do it the way I originally thought. I'm going to show you that in just a second here so you can see what it looks like. So there it is. It's pulled down just over the top of his beard. He looks like a pretty princess at the moment with his little flowing whatever off the top of his hat. But I'm going to twist that up and tie a knot in it. I don't know why I think of some of the things I do, you guys. And then I actually voice them. But I tied a knot that's about 2 inches left on the end. And I'm just going to fringe it a little bit. I'm just putting maybe a 1 inch cut into the end there. I just wanted to fray it up a little bit and give it a little bit more interest. Honestly, wasn't sure what else to do with it if I didn't do that, because it was just like a tuft of fabric sitting there. Anyway, once I had that to the way I wanted it, and those are probably, I would say, half a centimeter wide. So maybe like, I don't know, less than a quarter of an inch wide, but you can do it however you want to. Now I need a nose. So I went to my stash and I got a little wood bead, because I haven't found something that I like better for gnome noses as of yet. If you have a suggestion, I am open to your suggestions. And I tend to just use hot glue to fill in that hole. I don't want him to have a nose with holes in it. So then, yeah, this was just an attempt at making a mess, I think. This is sheep color chalk paint, which was a fail. And so I moved on to vintage mustard chalk paint. This is by Home Decor, and that was actually a much better color. So just camouflaging the nose, tried to get it to like a skin tone as best as I could. While it was drying, I grabbed some of my fall leaves. I wanted to just decorate his hat a little bit with something. So I cut off 3 of the leaves. I was trying to decide whether I wanted to have them like a little bunch right there, or if I wanted to have them going up his hat. I opted for up his hat, but that was actually looking really cute, cuter than I remember it looking when I was messing with it on the crafting table there. But again, just gonna apply those. You could use little flowers, you could leave it plain, but I'm just putting a little tiny dot of glue on the back of the rib of these leaves. These are from the Dollar Tree. They have like a plastic rib on them. I don't know what else to call that other than a rib or a spine. I don't know, but I'm putting just a dot of glue on there and then holding it up to the hat until it's cool enough so it doesn't go sliding down the hat or fall off altogether, because it is just one little dot and the leaves are kind of poofing out in 3-dimensional. So now I am ready to apply my little nose. I'm going to figure out where center is by counting the little squares that are over the beard. Just a little bit of hot glue there, and I'll hold that in place until he is good to go. I think he turned out super cute. I hope you like him too. I'll show you how he turned out here in just a moment, but definitely leave me a comment. Let me know what you think. Okay, everybody, that's it for today. If you enjoyed the project, please remember to give me a big thumbs up, leave me a comment, let me know which one was your favorite. And until the next time, be well, be kind, and make it a great day. Thank you so much for watching. Take good care. Bye.